The marketplace on orbital station Theta 9 buzzed with activity like it did every morning. Hundreds of different species moved through the wide corridors, buying and selling goods from across the galaxy. The air smelled strange, a mix of alien spices and recycled oxygen. Bright lights reflected off polished metal walls, and the sound of 1,000 different languages filled the space. Jawan walked beside her mother, holding a small stuffed toy she had gotten for her 7th birthday. Her black hair was tied in 2 ponytails, and she wore a simple blue dress with white shoes. She hummed a song while looking at all the strange aliens around her. Some were tall and thin, others short and round. Some had fur, others had scales. Jiwan found them all fascinating. "Stay close," Sumin said softly, keeping her daughter within arm's reach. She was supposed to meet her husband Minho at the Human Diplomatic Office in 20 minutes. They had important meetings today with the Galactic Council representatives. Boring adult stuff that Jiwan did not need to attend. Jiwan nodded, but her attention was caught by a vendor selling what looked like floating crystals. They glowed different colors and danced in the air above a small platform. She took a few steps toward the display, her eyes wide with wonder. "Pretty," she whispered. The crystals changed from blue to green to purple. Jiwan reached out her small hand, wanting to touch one. The vendor, a blob-like creature with 3 eyes, made a gurgling sound that might have been laughter. It gestured for Jiwan to come closer. Sumin was looking at her communication device, checking the time. Just for a moment, she was distracted. Jiwan stepped forward, not watching where she was going. Her shoulder bumped into something tall and solid. A container fell from someone's hands and hit the ground with a crash. Bright orange fruit spilled across the polished floor, rolling in every direction. "Oh no," Jiwan said, looking down at the mess. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, clumsy primitive creature." The voice was sharp and angry, coming from above Jiwan's head. Jiwan looked up and up. Standing over her was Commander Velshara of the Avian Guard, one of the most powerful security forces in this sector. She stood nearly 7 feet tall, with feathers that shimmered like oil on water. Her eyes were large and golden, with vertical pupils that stared down at Jiwan with pure contempt. Sharp talons extended from her wing arms, each one curved and gleaming. "I said I'm sorry," Jiwan said in a small voice. She had never seen this kind of alien before. The commander looked scary, like a giant angry bird. "Sorry? Your species should not even be allowed in civilized spaces?" Velshara hissed. Her beak clicked together in irritation. "Humans. Always stumbling around, breaking things, acting like you belong here when you are nothing but newcomers. Inferior primitives from a backwards world." Other aliens nearby had stopped to watch. Some looked uncomfortable. Others seemed curious about what would happen next. No one stepped forward to help. Some heard the commotion and turned around. Her heart dropped when she saw Jiwan standing in front of the tall avian commander. She started pushing through the crowd, calling her daughter's name. "I'll clean it up," Jiwan said, kneeling down to pick up the strange orange fruit. Her hands were shaking. She could feel everyone staring at her. "I'll clean it all up, I promise." "You dare touch my property with your filthy hands?" Velshara's voice rose to a screech. "You cost me valuable goods with your clumsiness, and now you compound the insult?" Jiwan looked up at the commander, confused. She was just trying to help. Her mother always said to clean up messes she made. "I was just—" The back of Velshara's wing hand came across Jiwan's face so fast that no one could react in time. The sharp talons caught the little girl's cheek, tearing through soft skin. 3 long gashes opened up, blood immediately flowing down Jiwan's face and neck. The sound Jiwan made was not quite a scream. It was a gasp of shock and pain, the cry of a child who had never been hurt like this before. She fell backward, her small body hitting the hard floor. Blood pooled beneath her head. Her eyes went wide, then slowly closed. The marketplace went silent. Sumin screamed and broke through the crowd. She fell to her knees beside her daughter, pulling Jiwan into her arms. Blood soaked into her clothes. Jiwan was not moving. "Jiwan! Baby, wake up, Jiwan!" Sumin's hands pressed against the wounds, trying to stop the bleeding. Tears ran down her face. "Someone call medical. Now, please." Velshara looked down at the scene with disgust. She wiped her talons on a cloth, removing the blood. The child should learn respect. Perhaps now she will remember to watch where she walks. Several aliens finally moved. One called for medical assistance. Another, a gentle being covered in blue fur, knelt beside Sumin and offered a clean cloth for the wounds. But many others simply watched, uncomfortable but unwilling to challenge a commander of the Avian Guard. Minho arrived 3 minutes later, running at full speed from the diplomatic offices. Someone had sent him an emergency message. When he saw his wife holding their unconscious daughter, covered in blood, something broke inside him. He dropped to his knees beside them, his hands shaking as he touched Jiwan's pale face. "What happened? Who did this?" "Her," Sumin said, her voice shaking with rage and grief. She pointed at Velshara, who was already walking away. "That thing hit our baby. She hit Jiwan for bumping into her." Medical personnel arrived with a floating stretcher. They carefully took Jiwan from Sumin's arms and placed her on the stretcher. Scanners moved over the little girl's body, checking for damage. One of the medical staff, a being with 4 arms and kind eyes, looked at the parents. "She has lost blood and has severe facial trauma. There may be shock. We need to get her to the medical center immediately." "We're coming with her," Minho said. It was not a request. As they followed the stretcher, Minho looked back at Commander Velshara. She stood near the marketplace entrance, speaking with other avian guards, seemingly unconcerned. She noticed Minho watching her, and lifted her head in a gesture that looked like pride. Minho's hands slowly closed into fists. His jaw tightened. Sumin grabbed his arm, knowing what he was thinking. "Not now," she whispered. "Jiwan needs us. But later we will make sure everyone knows what happened here." In the medical center, doctors worked on Jiwan for 2 hours. The wounds were deep but not life-threatening. They sealed the cuts with advanced technology that would minimize scarring, but the marks would never fully disappear. More concerning was the head injury from her fall. She had a concussion and would need to be monitored. When Jiwan finally woke up, she immediately started crying. She was scared and confused in a strange room with alien doctors. Sumin held her close, rocking her gently and singing soft songs. "Mommy, why did she hurt me?" Jiwan asked between sobs. "I said I was sorry." Sumin had no answer that would make sense to a 7-year-old child. How could she explain hatred, prejudice, and casual cruelty to someone who still believed the world was good? Minho stood by the window, looking out at the stars. He had already sent messages to Earth, to the human diplomatic corps, to the Galactic Council. Security footage from the marketplace was being transmitted to every human colony and station. By tomorrow, everyone would know what happened to Jiwan. He touched the glass with one hand, his reflection staring back at him. Behind him, he could hear his daughter crying for pain medication, his wife trying to comfort her. Outside, the galaxy continued as if nothing had happened. But something had happened. Something that would change everything, because humans remembered their children. And humans never forgot. The video reached Earth within 6 hours. It moved through official channels first, arriving on secure networks at the Global Defense Headquarters in Geneva. Then it spread like wildfire through public channels. News stations picked it up. Social media exploded. Within 12 hours, every human alive had seen footage of Commander Velshara striking little Jiwan. The reaction was immediate and volcanic. People gathered in city squares across Earth, holding vigils for a child they had never met. They held signs with Jiwan's smiling face, taken from her birthday party just 2 weeks before. Parents held their own children closer. The message was simple and repeated everywhere. Touch our children. Face our wrath. Admiral Yoho watched the footage for the 20th time in his office aboard the EDS Horizon, humanity's flagship vessel. Each time, his anger grew colder and more focused. He was 60 years old, a veteran of the Resource Wars and the Mars Rebellion. He had seen terrible things in his career, but watching a child get struck down for an accident made him feel something he had not felt in years pure. Burning rage, his second-in-command, Captain Suyun, stood at attention on the other side of his desk. She was younger, only 35, but she had already made a name for herself in special operations. She had watched the video once and refused to watch it again. Once was enough. The diplomatic corps is trying to handle it through official channels, Yeho said, his voice flat. Ambassador Taiyang submitted a formal complaint to the Galactic Council 3 hours ago. He is demanding immediate prosecution of Commander Velshara. And? Suyun asked, though she already knew the answer. They are stalling. Council regulations require investigation by an avian-led committee since Velshara is avian. The committee will not convene for at least 6 weeks. Even then, prosecution is unlikely. She has diplomatic immunity and her family has significant influence in council politics. Suyun's jaw tightened. So they will do nothing. They will issue apologies. Offer compensation. Perhaps a fine of some meaningless amount. They will call it a cultural misunderstanding. Yeho closed the video file. But they will not give us justice. Then what are our orders, sir? Admiral Yeho stood and walked to the large window that looked out into space. Earth hung in the distance, a blue and white sphere that held 8 billion souls. Humanity had clawed its way from caves to starships through determination and sacrifice. They had survived ice ages, plagues, wars, and their own worst impulses. They had earned their place among the stars. Dr. Hiron submitted a report this morning, Yeho said. She is our lead xenopsychologist, specializing in human-alien relations. Have you read it? Not yet, sir. She reminds us of something the Galactic Council seems to have forgotten. Earth is classified as a Class 4 death world. Do you know what that means, Captain? Suyun nodded slowly. High gravity, extreme weather patterns, abundant predators, deadly diseases. Only 12 known Class 4 worlds have produced intelligent life. Most Council species come from Class 1 or Class 2 worlds. Exactly. We are Deathworlders, Captain. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every single day. We survive by becoming predators ourselves. Pursued predators. We do not have the sharp claws of the avians or the armored skin of the Krovan. We do not need them. We chase our prey until it collapses from exhaustion. We are patient. We are relentless. And when something threatens our young, we become something that terrifies even ourselves. Yeho turned to face Suyun directly. His eyes were hard, showing no doubt about what he was about to say. The Council thinks we are weak because we value diplomacy. They think we are soft because we pursue peace. They have mistaken our restraint for inability. It is time to correct that misunderstanding. What are you asking me to do, Admiral? I received orders from Earth Command 2 hours ago. Sealed orders, highest classification. A team is to be assembled. 6 personnel, all volunteers, all special operations qualified. Their mission is to extract Commander Velshara from Galactic Council protection and bring her to face human justice. Suyun's eyes widened slightly. That would be an act of war, sir. Only if we are caught. And only if the Council decides to make it one. Yeho handed her a data chip. Mission parameters are on here. Study them. Pick your team. You have 48 hours to prepare. This mission does not officially exist. If you are captured, Earth will deny all knowledge. But if you succeed, you will send a message that echoes across the entire galaxy. Suyun took the chip, feeling its weight in her hand. This was not just a mission. This was a line being crossed. Humanity was declaring that it would no longer play by rules designed to keep them subservient. I will need specialists, she said quietly. Infiltration, technical, medical, heavy combat. You will have access to anyone you request. The best we have. When do we leave? As soon as your team is ready. Velshara is currently under lighthouse arrest on Station Theta 9, but that will not last. Her family is already working to have her transferred to an avian colony world. Once that happens, extraction becomes nearly impossible. Suyun saluted. We will not fail, sir. After she left, Admiral Yeho returned to the window. He thought about his own daughter, grown now with children of her own. He thought about every parent on Earth watching that video, feeling helpless and angry. He thought about Minho and Sumin sitting in a hospital room with their scared little girl. His communicator buzzed. It was Ambassador Taeyong calling from the Galactic Council chambers. "Admiral, I must protest these rumors I am hearing," Taeyong said without preamble. His face on the screen looked tired and frustrated. "Please tell me Earth Command is not planning something reckless. We can still resolve this through proper channels." "Ambassador, I have faith in your diplomatic skills," Yeho replied carefully. "But I also have faith in human resolve. Sometimes the proper channels are too slow. Sometimes justice delayed is justice denied. If you take aggressive action, we will lose what little standing we have in the Council. They will paint us as violent primitives, exactly what they already suspect. They struck a child, Taeyong, a 7-year-old girl. They made her bleed and then walked away without consequence. What do you think Earth will tolerate? What do you think any parent will accept?" Taeyong was silent for a long moment. "I know, I have children too. But we must think about the bigger picture. If we act rashly, all of humanity suffers. And if we do nothing, what message does that send? That humans are easy targets? That our children can be harmed without consequence? No, Ambassador. The bigger picture is this. We teach the galaxy who we are. We teach them respect." After the call ended, Yeho pulled up another file. "Medical reports on G1, the physical wounds would heal," the doctor said. But she was having nightmares. She flinched when aliens came near her. She cried and asked why people wanted to hurt her, 7 years old and already. Learning that the universe could be cruel, across the station, Captain Suyun was already assembling her team. She sent coded messages to 5 people, all veterans she had worked with before. Lieutenant Doyan, who could hack any system ever built. Corporal Yunji, who could shoot the wings off a fly at 1,000 meters. Sergeant Hanbin, their medic and the calmest person she knew. Private Jisu, who spoke 9 languages and could forge any document. And Specialist Minsiak, who had served in the Mars underground and knew how to move unseen, each one accepted within minutes. No one asked for details. They all saw the video. They all knew what needed to happen. 2 days later, they gathered in a secure briefing room. Captain Suyun stood at the front, a holographic display showing Station Theta 9's layout behind her. "We are going hunting," she said simply. "Our target is Commander Velshara. She hurt one of ours. She thinks her position protects her. She thinks humans are weak. We are going to teach her otherwise. Rules of engagement?" Doyan asked. "Take her alive. No unnecessary casualties. Get in, grab her, get out. Clean and professional. But understand this failure is not acceptable. That little girl deserves justice. We are going to give it to her." The team studied the plans in silence. They memorized guard rotations, security protocols, escape routes. They discussed contingencies and backup plans. They prepared for every possibility. They were hunters now. And their prey did not even know the chase had begun. Commander Velshara, meanwhile, gave an interview to galactic media from her comfortable apartment on Station Theta 9. She sat with perfect posture, her feathers groomed to perfection, her golden eyes showing no remorse. "The human child was clumsy and disrespectful," she said calmly. "I merely corrected inappropriate behavior. If humans wish to be part of galactic society, they must learn proper conduct. This incident is being blown out of proportion by an overly emotional species." The interviewer, a nervous being from a species known for neutrality, asked carefully, "But Commander, she was only a child. 7 years old by human standards? Many species would consider striking a juvenile to be deeply wrong." Velshara waved a wing dismissively. "Different species? Different standards? Humans coddle their young excessively. It makes them weak. Perhaps this will teach the child to be more careful in the future." The interview was broadcast across human space. It added fuel to fires already burning. People demanded action. Politicians spoke of honor and justice. Military veterans called for volunteers. The mood was dark and getting darker. On Earth, in a small apartment, Jiwan sat with her parents watching children's programs. The bandages on her face were smaller now, but the fear in her eyes remained. She did not want to go back to the station. She did not want to see aliens anymore. "It's okay, baby," Sumin whispered, holding her close. "You're safe now. Nothing will hurt you again. Mommy and Daddy promise." Jiwan believed her. Children always believe their parents, but Minho and Sumin knew the truth. The galaxy was not safe. Not yet. Not until humanity made it clear that their children were sacred, untouchable, and worth any price to protect. That message was coming. Carried by 6 soldiers moving through the dark like shadows, patient as the grave. The transport ship arrived at Station Theta 9 3 days after the team received their orders. It looked like any other civilian cargo vessel, carrying supplies and equipment for the various businesses operating on the station. The ship's registration listed it as owned by a mining company based on Titan. The crew manifest showed 6 workers, all properly documented with valid station entry permits. None of it was real. The permits were forgeries created by Private Jisu. The ship belonged to Earth Intelligence Services. The 6 workers were Captain Suyun's team, and they were here for one purpose only. They passed through customs without incident. The station security officer, a bored-looking being with too many eyes, barely glanced at their documents before waving them through. Why would he look closely? Thousands of ships docked here every week. These humans seemed ordinary enough. The team split up after clearing customs. They had memorized every detail of the station's layout during the journey. Captain Suyun went to Section 7 where workers found cheap housing. Lieutenant Doyan headed to the technical district where he could access computer terminals. Corporal Yunji found her way into the maintenance levels, carrying equipment that looked like repair tools but served much different purposes. The others dispersed throughout the station, each with specific tasks. Commander Velshara lived in the diplomatic quarter, a section of the station reserved for high-ranking officials. Her apartment occupied the entire top floor of Tower 6, with large windows overlooking the station's commercial district. 4 Krovan guards were assigned to her protection, rotating in 12-hour shifts. The Krovan were serious warriors, standing over 6 feet tall with thick armored skin and powerful builds. They came from a heavy gravity world, not quite as extreme as Earth, but enough to make them formidable. Suyun spent the first day just watching. She sat in cafes, pretending to read news on a datapad while actually noting guard change times, patrol patterns, and security protocols. The guards were professional but complacent. They were used to ceremonial duty, protecting politicians who faced no real threats. This was not a war zone. This was a civilized station where violence was rare. That would work in humanity's favor. Doyan worked his magic from a rented workspace in the technical district. His fingers flew across holographic keyboards, slicing through the station's security networks like they were made of paper. He created backdoors, planted false data, and carefully mapped out every camera and sensor in Tower 6. The station's security system was advanced by galactic standards, but it was designed to prevent theft and detect accidents, not to stop a determined infiltration by military specialists. "I can give us a 20-minute window," Doyan reported during a secure communication that evening. "Long enough to get in and out. But we need to move fast. Once security realizes something is wrong, they will lock down the entire sector." 20 minutes is more than enough," Suyun replied. "What about alarms?" "I can disable them for the target apartment and the floors directly below. But if guards manually call for help, there is nothing I can do about that. We will make sure they cannot call for help." Yunji had been busy in the maintenance levels, finding the perfect position for what needed to happen. The station's environmental systems ran through a complex network of tunnels and shafts that connected every section. Maintenance workers used them, but they were empty at night. She found a spot 90 meters from Velshara's apartment with a direct line of sight through a ventilation grate. She set up her equipment carefully. The rifle was a custom design, built specifically for this mission. It fired tranquilizer darts loaded with a chemical cocktail designed to work on avian physiology. The research team on Earth had worked around the clock to get the formula right. Too little, and the target would not go unconscious. Too much could be fatal, and they needed Velshara alive. Position secured, Yunji whispered into her communicator. I have clear sight of the main entrance. When the guards come into view, I can drop them before they know what happened. The team spent 3 days preparing. They studied every detail, ran through dozens of scenarios, prepared for every complication they could imagine. They watched Velshara come and go, noting her schedule and habits. She went to council meetings during the day and returned to her apartment in the evenings. She seemed relaxed, confident in her safety. She gave another interview on the 3rd day, this time from her apartment. The reporter asked if she was concerned about the angry response from humans. Velshara laughed, a harsh sound like metal scraping metal. Humans are all emotion and no action. They complain and threaten, but they will do nothing. They are too civilized, too concerned with following rules. That is their weakness. They could never understand what it takes to maintain real order. Captain Suyun watched that interview on a public screen in a cafe. Her face showed nothing, but her hands gripped her cup tight enough that it nearly cracked. Sergeant Hanbin sat across from her, equally still. She does not know, Hanbin said quietly. She actually believes we are harmless. Good, Suyun replied. Pray that feels safe is easier to catch. They chose the night of the 4th day for the operation. The station cycle put most businesses closed by that hour, and foot traffic in the diplomatic quarter would be minimal. The guards would be alert but not expecting trouble. It was the perfect time. At 2300 hours, the team moved into position. Doyon sat in a rented room with multiple computer terminals, his hands ready to execute the hacking programs he had prepared. Yunji lay prone in the maintenance shaft, her rifle steady and her breathing controlled. Suyun, Hanbin, Minseok, and Jasu gathered in a service corridor 2 floors below Velshara's apartment. Dressed in black tactical gear with faces covered. Sound off, Suyun said quietly into her communicator. Each team member confirmed ready status. Execute in 60 seconds. Suyun ordered. She counted down the seconds. Feeling her heartbeat slow and steady as training took over. This was what she was born to do: hunt, track, strike. Humans had been doing this for hundreds of thousands of years, long before they reached the stars. It was coded into their DNA, written in every cell. Execute. Doyon's fingers danced across the keyboards. Security cameras in Tower 6 began showing loops of empty hallways instead of real-time footage. Motion sensors received false signals indicating nothing unusual. Door locks received override commands. Alarms that should have triggered stayed silent before Kroven. Guards stood at their posts outside Velshara's apartment door. They were talking quietly about sports, a game happening on their homeworld that they were missing because of this assignment. They did not notice the ventilation grate above and behind them. They did not see the rifle barrel that emerged from the darkness. Yunji fired 4 times in less than 3 seconds. The darts were nearly silent, just soft whispers of air. Each dart found its target with perfect precision: 1 guard in the neck, 2 in the shoulder, 1 in the back. The tranquilizer worked fast, designed to overwhelm even heavy-gravity biology. The guards stumbled, tried to reach for their weapons, then collapsed one by one like falling trees. Targets down, Yunji reported. You have clear entry. Suyun's team moved up the emergency stairs with practiced silence. They reached Velshara's floor in less than 30 seconds, stepping over the unconscious guards and stacking up at the apartment door. Minseok placed a small device against the lock. It hummed briefly, then the door clicked open. They flowed inside like smoke, covering angles and clearing rooms with military precision. The apartment was large and luxurious, decorated with expensive art from various worlds. Floor-to-ceiling windows showed the station's interior stretching out below. Soft music played from hidden speakers. Velshara's bedroom door was closed. Suyun approached it carefully, checking for alarms or traps. Nothing. The commander truly felt safe here. She opened the door and stepped inside. The bedroom was decorated in shades of blue and silver. A massive bed dominated the center of the room, and in that bed Commander Velshara slept peacefully. Her feathers were relaxed, her wings folded at her sides. She looked almost innocent in sleep. Like any other living being at rest, Suyun thought about Jiwan, about a little girl waking up in a hospital bed, scared and hurting. She thought about the casual cruelty in Velshara's voice when she described hitting a child. She thought about every parent on Earth watching that video. Feeling helpless and angry, she moved to the bed and pressed a hand firmly over Velshara's beak, holding it closed while her other hand pressed a tranquilizer injector against the commander's neck. Velshara's eyes snapped open, golden and wide with shock. She tried to scream, but no sound could escape. She thrashed, strong wings beating against the blankets, but Suyun was ready for it. Earth's gravity made humans strong, stronger than most species realized. She held Velshara down with casual ease while the tranquilizer pumped into her bloodstream. "Easy," Suyun said softly. "Fight, and you might hurt yourself. We do not want that, yet." Recognition flashed in Velshara's eyes. Humans. They were humans in her bedroom, holding her down like she was prey. Fear replaced shock. She struggled harder, but the tranquilizer was already working. Her movements became sluggish, uncoordinated. Her eyes started to droop. "That is right," Suyun continued in that same soft voice. "Go to sleep. When you wake up, you will face something your kind clearly do not understand. Justice." Velshara tried to say something, but her beak would not move properly. The last thing she saw before darkness took her was 5 humans standing around her bed, their eyes cold and patient behind tactical masks. The team worked quickly. They bound Velshara's wings and legs with flexible restraints, then placed a hood over her head. Hambin did a quick medical scan to ensure she was stable. They wrapped her in a dark blanket, making her look like any piece of cargo. "Package secured," Suyun reported. "Exfil in 2 minutes." They carried Velshara out of the apartment and down the emergency stairs. The unconscious guards still lay where they had fallen. The team moved through service corridors that Minsiak had mapped out, avoiding main hallways and public areas. They encountered no one in the maintenance tunnels. Yunji had already packed her equipment and was leading them to their extraction point. A small service airlock connected to a maintenance ship they had positioned 3 days earlier. The ship looked like any other small craft used for exterior repairs on the station. They loaded Velshara into a secure cargo compartment, checked her vital signs one more time, then sealed the door. The ship detached from the station with a gentle push of thrusters, just another maintenance vessel finishing its shift. Station security did not notice anything wrong for another 45 minutes. By then, the team ship had already jumped to hyperspace, carrying Commander Velshara away from Galactic Council protection and toward human justice. When security finally entered Velshara's apartment and found her gone, alarms screamed throughout the station. The guards were found unconscious but alive. Security footage had been tampered with. There were no witnesses. Commander Velshara had simply vanished into the dark. Taken by ghosts that left no trace, the Galactic Council received notification 3 hours later. Their response was immediate and panicked. They demanded answers, launched investigations, threatened consequences. But threats meant nothing to ghosts. Humanity had proven something the Council had not believed possible. Humans could strike with precision and disappear without trace. Humans could reach anyone, anywhere, regardless of status or protection. Humans were not weak. They were patient predators, and they had just reminded the galaxy what that meant. Commander Velshara woke in darkness. Her head felt heavy, thoughts moving slowly through the fog of tranquilizers. She tried to move her wings and found them bound tightly to her body. Panic shot through her, cutting through the drug haze. Where was she? What happened? The hood over her head was removed suddenly, and bright light made her eyes water. She blinked, trying to focus. She was sitting in a chair in the center of a large room. The walls were metal, painted a neutral gray. In front of her sat 7 humans behind a long desk, all wearing formal uniforms. Above them hung the flag of Earth, blue and white and green, a symbol she had learned to recognize during her training. Behind the desk sat Judge Meng-Yi. a woman in her 50s with gray hair and sharp eyes that showed no emotion. To her left and right sat 6 other officers, the tribunal that would decide Velshara's fate. At a separate table sat 2 more humans, one organizing papers and the other watching Velshara with cold attention. "Commander Velshara," Judge Mingyi said, her voice clear and formal, "you have been brought before this military tribunal to answer charges of assault, child endangerment, and abuse of diplomatic authority. Do you understand these charges?" Velshara's mind raced. This was impossible. They could not do this. She had diplomatic immunity. The Galactic Council would never allow. "Where am I?" she demanded, her voice still rough from sleep. "By what authority do you hold me?" "I demand to speak with avian representatives immediately. I demand to contact the Galactic Council. This is kidnapping. This is an act of war. You are aboard the EDS Retribution, currently in neutral space outside Council jurisdiction," the judge replied calmly. "As for authority, you committed a crime against a human citizen on a station where human law applies equally to all species. You then used your diplomatic status to evade justice. We are correcting that situation. This is illegal. The Council had their chance to deliver justice," Judge Mingyi interrupted. "They chose bureaucracy and delay instead. So we will deliver justice ourselves. Now, I will ask again. Do you understand the charges against you?" Velshara looked around the room desperately. There were guards at the door, human soldiers who watched her without expression. There were no avians here, no allies, no one who would help her. For the first time in her life, Commander Velshara felt truly afraid. I understand the charges," she said quietly. "How do you plead?" "Not guilty." The human child was at fault. "I was merely enforcing proper behavior. Please save your defense for testimony," the judge said. "This tribunal will now hear evidence. Prosecution, you may begin." One of the humans at the side table stood. His name was Commander Taikifun, a military prosecutor with 20 years of experience. He activated a holographic display that showed security footage from Station Theta 9's marketplace. "This tribunal will see footage from the incident in question," Taekwon said. "I warn that it contains violence against a minor and may be disturbing." The footage played. Velshara watched herself strike Jiwan, watched the child fall, watched blood pool on the floor. She had seen this footage before on the news reports, but watching it here felt different, worse. The way the humans watched made her feel exposed. Judged. The victim is 7-year-old Jiwan, daughter of human diplomats Minho and Sumin, Taekwon continued. She accidentally bumped into Commander Velshara, causing her to drop a container of fruit. The child immediately apologized and attempted to clean up the mess. Commander Velshara responded by striking her with enough force to cause severe facial lacerations, concussion, and psychological trauma. He pulled up medical reports, images of Jiwan's injuries, doctor's notes about her treatment. Each image appeared in the holographic display for everyone to see. The child required 2 hours of surgery to repair the damage. She lost significant blood. She suffered nightmares for weeks afterward and developed fear of alien species. At 7 years old, she learned that the universe can be cruel without reason. Velshara wanted to look away from the images but could not. She had not thought much about the child after the incident. It was just a minor thing, a small correction of bad behavior. But seeing it all laid out like this, seeing the medical reports and the photographs of a crying child with bandaged face, "I did not mean to injure her so severely," Velshara said. "It was not my intention. Intention does not matter when the result is a traumatized child," Judge Mingyi said. "Continue, Commander Taekwon." The prosecutor called witnesses. Medical staff described Jiwan's injuries in clinical detail. Station security officers explained that Velshara showed no remorse and claimed diplomatic immunity immediately. Experts in human psychology testified about the lasting damage such trauma causes to young children. Then Minho took the stand. He walked slowly to the witness chair, wearing a simple suit and tie. His face was composed, but his eyes showed deep pain. He looked at Velshara once, just a brief glance, and in that moment she saw something that made her feathers puff in instinctive fear. She saw a father's rage, controlled but absolute, burning like a star. "Please state your name and relationship to the victim," Taekwon said gently. "My name is Minho. Jawan is my daughter. My only child." His voice was steady but quiet. "Can you describe what happened from your perspective?" Minho took a breath. "I was in a meeting when I got an emergency message. It just said medical emergency, marketplace, G1. I ran. I ran faster than I have ever run in my life. When I got there, I saw my wife holding our daughter. There was so much blood. G1's face was torn open. She was unconscious. I thought she might die." His voice broke slightly on the last word. He paused, collected himself, continued. "The doctor said she would survive. But when she woke up, she was not the same. She cries at night. She has nightmares about giant birds attacking her. She does not want to go outside anymore. She asks me why people hate us. She is 7 years old, and she thinks the universe hates her because some alien told her humans do not belong." "Did you see Commander Velshara after the incident?" "Yes, she was walking away like nothing happened. She looked ... proud, like she had done something good." Minho's hands gripped the arms of his chair. "My daughter was bleeding on the floor, and this creature looked proud." Velshara wanted to defend herself, but the rules of the tribunal prevented her from speaking out of turn. She could only sit and listen as a father described his daughter's suffering. Next, Sumin testified. She was calmer than her husband, but her words cut deeper. She described holding Jawan while she cried, singing songs to help her sleep, watching her daughter flinch away from alien neighbors who had always been friendly before. "She used to love meeting new species," Sumin said. "She thought aliens were amazing and wonderful. She wanted to be a diplomat like us, to help humans and aliens understand each other. Now she is afraid. That hope is gone, taken by one moment of casual cruelty." Dr. Hiren took the stand next. As a xenopsychologist, she explained why this incident was more serious than simple assault. Commander Velshara completed mandatory cultural training before being assigned to stations with human populations. Dr. Hiren explained. This training specifically covers human attitudes toward children and the importance of protecting young members of our species. She knew, or should have known, that harming a human child would provoke extreme response. "Can you explain why humans react so strongly to threats against children?" Taekwon asked. "Humans evolved on a death world where infant mortality was extremely high. Our species survived by developing powerful protective instincts toward our young. This is coded into our biology and culture at the deepest level. Harming a human child is not just a crime, it is a violation of our most sacred values. It triggers responses that override rational thought and legal process." She pulled up comparative data showing how different species reacted to juvenile members being threatened. Humans ranked among the most protective species in known space. "To put it simply," Dr. Hiren continued, "Commander, Velshara did not just assault a child. She declared that human children have no value, that human parents have no rights, and that humanity itself deserves no respect." Whether she understood that message or not, that is what she communicated. The tribunal listened to hours of testimony. They heard from child development experts, cultural specialists, and legal scholars. They saw more footage of Velshara's interviews, where she showed no remorse and described the incident as justified correction of primitive behavior. Finally, it was Velshara's turn to speak. She stood at the defendant's position, her wings still bound, her golden eyes darting nervously around the room. Her lawyer, appointed by the tribunal since she had no other representation, had advised her to show remorse, to apologize, to claim cultural misunderstanding, but pride was difficult to swallow. "I acknowledge that I struck the child," Velshara said carefully. "But you must understand the context. Your species is new to galactic society. You do not understand proper protocols. The child was clumsy and disrespectful. In avian culture, correction of improper behavior is expected. I was teaching her a lesson that would help her in future interactions. You were teaching a 7-year-old child? Judge Mingyi asked. By striking her hard enough to require surgery? I did not intend such severe injury. I misjudged human fragility. You misjudged human fragility despite completing cultural training that specifically warned you about human children. Velshara hesitated. The training was theoretical. I did not realize humans would react so extremely. So you claim ignorance as your defense? Despite training, despite working alongside humans for 3 years, despite every indication that humans value their children above all else, you claim you did not know? I made a mistake in judgment. Judge Mingyi leaned forward. Commander, this tribunal has reviewed all evidence. We have heard testimony from medical experts, cultural specialists, and the child's own parents. We have seen your interviews where you showed no remorse and called humans weak. We have examined your record and found multiple complaints of discrimination against human personnel. This was not a momentary lapse in judgment. This was a pattern of behavior rooted in prejudice and contempt. Velshara's feathers flattened against her body, a sign of submission and fear. Please, I did not understand. I will apologize. I will make restitution. Just let me go home. The child you struck cannot go back to who she was before, Mingyi said quietly. She will carry scars, physical and mental, for the rest of her life. Why should you escape consequences? The tribunal deliberated for 6 hours. When they returned, the verdict was unanimous. Commander Velshara, this tribunal finds you guilty on all charges. The sentence is death, to be carried out within 24 hours. Velshara's legs gave out. She collapsed, held up only by the guards. No, please, no. The council will negotiate. My family will pay. The council had their chance, Judge Mingyi said. Sentence will be carried out as ordered. Guards removed the prisoner. As they dragged her away, Velshara screamed for mercy. But mercy was something she had not shown a crying child. And mercy was something she would not receive. The Galactic Council chamber was full when the human delegation arrived. Representatives from 300 species sat in tiered rows that circled the central floor. The chamber itself was a marvel of engineering, a massive dome that seemed to float in space, with transparent walls showing the stars beyond. Each representative had translation devices and voting terminals at their seats. The air hummed with dozens of different languages being spoken at once. High Chancellor Torvex, a being from one of the oldest council species, sat at the elevated judge's position. He had led the council for 20 years and had never seen anything like what was about to happen. He had received word that the humans requested an emergency session to address the Velshara situation. He expected protests, demands for investigation, perhaps threats of withdrawing from council. Membership. He did not expect what they actually brought. Admiral Yeho walked onto the central floor with Captain Suyun at his side. Behind them came 6 honor guards, all in formal military dress uniforms. They carried something between them. A container made of transparent material that allowed everyone to see what was inside. The chamber went silent inside the container. Preserved in some kind of stasis field was Commander Velshara's head. Her golden eyes were closed, her beak slightly open, her feathers still perfect. She looked like she was sleeping, except for the very obvious fact that her head was separated from her body. Gasps and shocked sounds came from various representatives. Some looked away. Others stared in horror. A few, mostly species known for their protective attitudes toward young, nodded slowly as if they understood exactly what they were seeing. High Chancellor Torvex stood, his voice amplified throughout the chamber. Admiral Yeho, what is the meaning of this? This is a place of diplomacy, not this. Yeho placed the container on the central platform where everyone could see it clearly. His face showed no emotion, no regret, no satisfaction, just cold determination. High Chancellor, honored representatives, Yeho began, his voice calm and clear. 6 weeks ago, Commander Velshara of the Avian Guard struck a 7-year-old human child on Station Theta 9. The assault was unprovoked, brutal, and caused severe injury. We brought evidence to this council. We requested justice through proper channels. We were patient and respectful of your procedures." He paused, looking around at the hundreds of faces watching him. "You gave us bureaucracy. You gave us delays. You gave us excuses." The commander's family used influence to protect her. She gave interviews mocking human pain and calling our children weak. She showed no remorse. And you, this council, did nothing. "We were following proper investigation protocols," Torvex protested. "These things take time." "Time?" Yeho's voice rose slightly. "A child was bleeding and traumatized, and you needed more time to investigate?" The entire incident was recorded on security footage. The evidence was clear. What more investigation was needed? He gestured to the container behind him. "We are humans. We come from Earth, which this council classifies as a Class 4 death world. Do you know what that means? It means our planet tried to kill us every single day for millions of years. It means we evolved as persistence hunters who chase prey until it collapses from exhaustion. It means we survived ice ages, mega predators, diseases that killed millions, and our own terrible capacity for violence." Yeho walked slowly around the central platform, making eye contact with different representatives. "We learned to be patient because patience means survival. We learned to be social because groups survive better than individuals. We learned to be clever because intelligence beats strength. And most importantly, we learned to protect our children above everything else. Because without children there is no future." He stopped walking and faced the council directly. "You have treated us as primitives since we joined this council. You have dismissed our customs, mocked our emotions, and assumed we would accept any insult because we wanted peace. Many of you forgot something important. Wanting peace is not the same as being weak. Preferring diplomacy does not mean we lack the ability to use force. We chose restraint. You mistook that choice for inability." Captain Suyun stepped forward, activating a holographic display. It showed detailed military specifications, human ships, weapons, training programs, and combat records from Earth's various conflicts. The data shocked many representatives. They had not realized how advanced human military technology had become, or how much experience humanity had with actual warfare. "We have fought wars that killed millions," Suyun said. "We have weapons that can crack planets. We have soldiers trained in combat far more brutal than anything most council species can imagine. We developed these capabilities not because we love violence, but because we survived on a world where being unprepared meant extinction. And the most important thing you need to understand is this: all of that power, all of that capability, becomes absolute when someone threatens our children." She closed the display and gestured to Velshara S-Heb. Commander Velshara struck a human child. She showed no remorse. Your council protected her. So we took her. We brought her to face human justice. She was given a fair trial, legal representation, and the opportunity to defend herself. She was found guilty by unanimous verdict. The sentence was carried out humanely and professionally. Torvex was shaking now, his skin changing colors in distress. "This is murder. This is an act of war. You have violated every principle this council stands for." "War?" Admiral Yeho's voice became cold as ice. "You want to talk about war? We are one species, High Chancellor. One planet. You represent 300 species across thousands of worlds. You have fleets that dwarf ours, populations that outnumber us, resources we cannot match. If this becomes war, we will lose. We know that." He let that sink in for a moment, watching the relief start to show on various faces. Then he smiled, and it was not a kind smile. "But before we lose, we will make you pay a price you cannot imagine. We will target leadership people like Velshara who think their status protects them. We will strike infrastructure. We will use tactics your species have forgotten or never learned. We are hunters, and we have patience measured in generations. You might destroy Earth eventually, but your children and grandchildren will still be dying from what we start today." He paused again, letting the weight of his words settle over the chamber. "Or," he continued, his voice softening slightly, You can accept what happened here as justice served and move forward. Velshara committed a crime. She faced consequences. The matter is closed. You can add new protocols about protecting juveniles of all species. You can remember that humans value their children above everything else. And you can treat us with the respect we have earned through patience and restraint. You bring us a severed head and speak of respect? Torvex's voice trembled. This is barbarism. This is justice, Yeho corrected. And it is a message. Touch our children, and there is nowhere in this galaxy you can hide. No status, no diplomatic immunity, no amount of influence will protect you. We will find you. We will bring you to justice. And if that makes us barbaric in your eyes, then so be it. We would rather be called barbarians than let our children suffer without response. The chamber erupted into chaos. Representatives argued with each other in dozens of languages. Some demanded sanctions against humanity. Others called for calm and investigation. A few stood and applauded, much to the shock of their neighbors. One representative, from a species that looked like massive insects, clicked her way to the speaking platform. Her name was Diplomat Chirix, and she had children of her own. I must speak, she said, her voice translated into all languages. My species understands the human position. We also protect our young with absolute commitment. If someone harmed my children, I would do exactly what these humans did. Perhaps we need to examine our own values if we are more offended by justified punishment than we were by an adult assaulting a child. Several other representatives nodded. The tide was turning, not toward full support, but toward understanding. The humans had made their point brutally clear, and arguing against protecting children was a position. No one wanted to take publicly. High Chancellor Torvex saw the mood shifting. He was a politician above all else, skilled at reading the chamber. He knew that pushing too hard against humanity right now would split the council. Some species would side with humans. Others would see this as an opportunity to test boundaries. The whole structure of council authority could collapse. This council will take a recess, he announced. We will reconvene in 6 hours to discuss new protocols regarding the protection of juvenile members of all species. In the meantime, the human delegation will remain as guests, not prisoners. It was a compromise. Not an acceptance of what happened, but an acknowledgement that punishment would lead nowhere good. Over the next 3 days, the council hammered out new agreements. Crimes against juveniles of any species would carry severe penalties. Diplomatic immunity would not protect those who harm children. Species were required to respect each other's protective customs regarding young. And most importantly, humans were formally recognized as a species with heightened protective instincts that must be respected. Velshara's family issued a formal apology to Minho and Sumin. It came with financial compensation. Though both parents wanted to refuse it, Ambassador Taiyang convinced them to accept and use the money for programs helping human children across the colonies. The avian government quietly removed 3 officials who had protected Velshara from initial prosecution. They issued new training for all avian personnel working with humans, emphasizing the absolute importance of not threatening human children. When Admiral Yeho and Captain Suyun returned to Earth, they were not celebrated as heroes. The government made sure of that. What they did was necessary, but not something to be proud of. They had killed someone, even someone who deserved justice. That was not something to celebrate, but parents across human space slept a little easier. They knew that if anything happened to their children, humanity would respond. Always. G1 recovered slowly. The physical scars faded with time and medical treatment. The mental scars took longer. She had nightmares less frequently as months passed. She started playing with alien children again, carefully at first. Then more confidently, on her 8th birthday, her parents took her to watch a shuttle launch. She stood between them, holding both their hands, watching the bright flame carry the ship into space. Above them, the stars waited, beautiful and dangerous and full of possibilities. "Daddy," Juwan asked, "are people in space scared of us now?" Minho knelt down to her level, brushing hair from her face. The scars were barely visible now, just thin lines that would fade more with time. Some might be scared, he said honestly, but most just learn to respect us. They learn that humans take care of each other, especially our children. They learn that we are kind until someone hurts us. Then we are something else. What are we then? He smiled sadly. We are what we have always been, survivors, protectors, humans. Yuan thought about that, watching the shuttle disappear into the darkness above. I want to go to space again, she said quietly. I want to meet aliens and learn about them. I want to help people understand each other like you and Mommy do. Sumin's eyes filled with tears. That hope, that openness, that dream of building bridges Velshara had tried to destroy it but failed. Yuan was stronger than anyone expected. Humans always were. Then that is what you will do, Sumin said, hugging her daughter close. And you will be amazing at it. Years later, when Jiwan joined the diplomatic corps as an adult, she kept a small reminder of what happened. Not to foster hatred, but to remember. She remembered that the universe could be beautiful and terrible at the same time. She remembered that justice sometimes required hard choices. And she remembered that humanity's greatest strength was not weapons or ships or clever tactics. It was their absolute, unwavering, terrifying commitment to protecting their own. The image of Velshara's head in that chamber became famous across the galaxy. Artists depicted it. Historians analyzed it. Philosophers debated it. But everyone remembered it. It became a symbol that transcended the specific incident. It said, we are human. We are patient. We are kind. We seek peace, but touch our children, and we will show you what Deathworlders truly are. The galaxy learned that lesson well. And for the most part, they never forgot it.